Welcome to Intro to Sociology with Monica Casella. This is the third video in the social class series, and we'll be talking about social class implications, which are health, consumption, parenting, education, politics, and crime. We know that people with higher statuses are also less likely to smoke. They're more likely to exercise but regularly, have access to a gym. They also have access to maybe a fitness coach. They're more conscious of their diet, and they have better access to foods with higher nutritional value. We also know that poor Americans are more likely to consume lower quality processed foods. We can conclude that a lower socioeconomic status contributes to a person's likelihood of being obese. And so this is counterintuitive, just because when we think of people being poor, we often think of them starving, so they wouldn't be obese. But it's not true in America. Obesity is highly correlated with social class. We also know that healthcare is different across the social classes. Being in a middle class occupation, you're likely to have access to healthcare, that your job provides benefits so you can go see a doctor when you are sick, that you have a primary care physician that you can see on a regular basis. Whereas if you're working or lower class, you may not have healthcare benefits or have access to prescription medications that are important for maintaining health. So consumption is a huge part of social class. It's the goods and services that we buy are symbols of our socioeconomic status. So what we buy, what we eat, what we wear, where we live, these have large ties to our identity. And so what we found in the research is that middle class members typically buy what is popular. They're very concerned with their appearance and the appearance of public places in their home. They're trying to deliver a vision of social class which is higher than where they actually are. And this is called conspicuous consumption. Among all consumers, those of a lower class spend the largest proportion of their incomes on food and leisure outside from work. Parenting between the social classes is different. This research was done by Annette Leroux in her book called Unequal Childhoods. The values used in parenting reflect the parent's occupational status. So middle class parents encourage negotiation and discussion and the questioning of authority, and typically enroll their children in extensive organized activities. So this is like after school activities that are formally organized. It prepares children for middle class careers, develops a large vocabulary, and makes them comfortable in discussions with people of authority. However, children in the middle class do have a sense of entitlement. The parenting style of the working class and the lower class families is more directive. So this encourages the following of people in authority positions. They don't structure their children's daily activities. They'd rather let the children play on their own in a more natural kind of setting. This method benefits the working class children to prepare them for jobs by teaching them to respect and to take the advice of people in authority. Education as an implication is one of the most obvious ones, because we know that educational attainment serves as the most essential class feature of most Americans. So we link education directly to income and occupation, which has a big stake in who we know, who we meet, where we go, what we become. So education is a big part of it. Upper class families typically, especially the upper class, send their children to boarding schools, to private schools, whereas, with middle class families, working class families attend public schools, usually state universities versus Ivy League schools, or not going to a university at all. These are different ways that education functions within social class. So social class has implications for the way people engage in politics. So people with lower incomes and the working class, they're less educated. They work outside of the professional occupation. They're less engaged in politics. They vote less. They're less likely to donate to campaigns. They pay less attention to politics. They are a lot less likely to contact their representatives than those with more resources. They're also less likely to believe that they can influence political decisions. So they experience a lot of political apathy. This is in stark contrast with the elite, upper class, who are greatly overrepresented in our political offices. They tend to support powerful special interest groups and are on, high boards, and they have quite a bit of influence over public policy. Lastly, we have crime. So we know that those from lower socioeconomic status are more likely to be arrested, convicted, and incarcerated for crimes, especially more so than affluent individuals who can afford attorneys or that have their own influence. We do have white collar crime, which is typically done by people in upper middle class positions. You do run into individuals like Bernie Madoff or investment scams, and some of these people do get caught. However, the vast majority of issues that we even saw within the housing market crisis, where there were really top executives, ended up getting off. Actually, a lot of them even still hold influential positions within our society, even after being caught. So it's really interesting how crime is dealt with in terms of social class in America. And that concludes our lectures on social class. I hope that this was helpful.